All right, let's talk about how ideas move through an organization, but in this case, we're going to focus on the humans that carry those ideas. So there was an idea back in 1962 related to the diffusion of innovation, the theory that basically explains how and why and what the rate of ideas and technology spread throughout a population. You can see it has the concept of innovators, early adopters, early majority, late majority, laggards. If you've heard those terms before, this is where that idea comes from 1962. But also is known as the technology adoption life cycle. You can see, again, it was just another version of that. These are just the Wikipedia pages that describe it. It was made popular also in Geoffrey Moore's Crossing of the Chasm. So in this case, if you remember that book from the 90s, he talked about the fact that as you move through that population, your idea, your new product, your cool thing you've built with your startup has to get, of course, adopted by the innovators and then hopefully get to those early adopters. But there'll be a chasm. There'll be a thing you could fall into and never come out of. And getting across that chasm requires certain strategies. But it was this whole idea of the early adopters, early majority, late majority was really definitely made popular with the Crossing the Chasm book as an example. So let's actually get into some certain psychographics because understanding who these people are is helpful. Now, these are things I made up. Some people may find them a little bit offensive in some cases, but it's only if you're on the right side of the chart, not the left side of the chart. Okay, so let's talk about that. For the innovators, think of them as thought leaders. They want to be thought leaders. They're curiosity driven. They're definitely like the novel, the new, the cool. They want to be hip. They want to be on the leading edge. They like experimentation. Just for the sake of experimentation, they're actually very failure tolerant. They'll try something. They'll buy the new cool widget, gadget, technological device. If it doesn't work for them but once or not at all, they're still okay with that. They may not even return it to the store kind of thing. They are also causers of disruption in many cases, and they like to work in startups and R&D departments because they want to use the latest, coolest stuff. But you can see it's a tiny population, 2.5%. The next group is the early adopters, right? They still want the bright and shiny. They really want that competitive advantage, and they will seek out things like blogs and videos, and they'll participate in public forums like on Reddit and other places on Discord. And, they want to have that opinion leadership. Okay. They don't necessarily want to get out there on the very bleeding edge all the time, but they want to be on the edge so they can be the leader. That's how they want to think of it. They often might be a consultant. They might be a trusted advisor. If you're a billable consultant, right, this is where you're going to make most of your money because you can then go to your big enterprise customers and say, like, look, I know a new cool thing. Your people need to learn it. I'm here to teach it. I'm here to help you implement it, that sort of thing. All right, this is where Crossing the Chasm kicks in, right? You got to figure out how to get from your elevators or early adopters and well into that early majority because this is where the meat and potatoes is. This is where the money is made. You can see that we actually ramp up in terms of number of people from 2.5%, 13.5. That's now 16% of the whole there. Now you're into 34.5. So you're into some larger numbers. The early majority really is focused on their productivity. They don't really care so much of the bright and shiny. They don't necessarily want to be first. They want to see that it's been proven a little bit more, well documented. There's known best practices. There's obvious productivity gains. They want to read those blogs and tweets that are out there already. They may attend a conference where they hear that speaker on the left-hand side tell them all about it. They might attend their user group. They may even deliver a brown bag lunch. They often work in greenfield aspects of a large enterprise. Like if you're a software developer, they work in the greenfield side of things, meaning they work on new projects, not maintenance of old projects. And this is often where people see IT as a competitive advantage, and that's an important aspect also, right? So the early majority is kind of really where the action happens, and this is a group you have to win, all right? If you only win the innovators, you won't make much money, or you won't have much of a population, 2.5%. And if you only win the early adopters, you get a little bit more percentage, but still the real money, the real opportunity is really made here, okay? The late majority is then influenced by the other people on the left side of this chart. The late majority, think of them as career-minded person. They will move in a direction when the boss kind of forces the issue, right? They do want formal training classes. That's an important thing, right? They want to basically have that week off of work and say, oh, I've been formally trained on this now. I'm well educated on this new technology, this new thing we're rolling out. They use things like Google and Stack Overflow and now ChatGPT to ask questions, right? They're okay with that sort of thing. They'd love to have an internal mentor. They will adopt tech or the new idea when it impacts their career. When they start getting worried about that, it's like, I wonder if I'm too late to this game, what will happen to me? They often work on brownfield projects too, where IT is seen as a cost center. So they won't necessarily work on the greenfield stuff. They're just too far behind the curve, but they will work on the brownfield. And you really have to think about all these people as it compares to the laggards. And so This is where some people might think I've been a little bit demeaning, but I've met a lot of these people when I've been out teaching classes and giving presentations. All right. So they move when they're forced to. They move when they must, right? They will read a blog when the boss prints it out and puts it on their chair. I've seen this before. You've probably seen it before, or maybe you've experienced this before. Okay. They will attend the brown bag lunch for the free lunch. Okay. They love the free lunch. They'll show up for the free pizza. They may not pay attention or understand what's going on in the session, but they want the pizza. They will demand training. They love training because it's a free week off of work. I've seen that many, many times when people have come to my training classes. They enjoy having some downtime and hanging out with other people, as opposed to being, told they have to complete this many tasks this week. They often are considering a different career path that has less learning. I've seen that many times before too, where they simply are like, I'm tired of having to learn all this stuff all the time. There's all these things that are happening. I think I'd rather go out and become a farmer or own a gas station or make jewelry, paint houses. I've seen all those examples, by the way, what people have spent time with. So these people on the right side of the chart, they don't really select their own tools. They kind of follow the leader. They wait for the boss. It's really the people on the left side of the chart you have to win with. If you don't get into the innovators and early adopters, you can't win the early majority. And if you don't win the early majority, you got nothing, is a way to think of it. So I put the Pathfinders on the left side of the chart here. These are the people that are trying to lead the way. They're curious. They're fault tolerant or failure tolerant. They like novelty. They will happily create opinion leadership through contributions of writing and speaking and blogs and videos and things of that nature. And then the builders, the people who kind of do and follow, are on the right side of my chart here. Okay, that is my quick introduction to the concept of Pathfinders versus builders, and hopefully that will help you think about the people we have to find in order to cause greater change within the organization and spread the ideas we seek to spread.